All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Everything College Football Podcast. Today I'll be doing my preview and prediction for the Armed Forces Bowl between Oklahoma and Navy, going down Friday, December 27th, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, from Fort Worth, Texas, in TCU's Amon G. Carter Stadium. Sooners are 3-point favorites. 43.5 is the total. Getting things started with this Oklahoma offense taking on the Chips defense. For Oklahoma, I mean, this is an offense all year that's just been ravaged by injuries at the wide receiver position. Offensive line's been abysmal, and of course it's allowed, it's caused the quarterback play to be very subpar. You start with the wide receiver position, they were injured the entire season pretty much, and the guys that did play, like Bauer Sharp, J.J. Hester, and Brendan Thompson, those guys have all transferred out. So, I mean, you're as bad as you could be in terms of depth of this position. Deion Burks, hopeful to play. He was a big X factor for him early on in the season, and then, the injury bug hit him as well after the first 4 games. He's only played once since the 21st of September. He had a pretty solid outing against Tennessee there, and then the rest of the year, only 1 game. So it's been a tough go for this receiving group, and it's just really led this offense to stumble. Good news for them is they landed Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer in the portal. So long-term, they should be fine. But really gloomy season for Oklahoma, and it led to Jackson Arnold being pretty poor as well. He is also transferred out. So, in terms of wide receiver, Deion Burks looks like he'll be playing, you would hope. Other than that, it's a lot of freshmen. Zion Raggins, Ivan Carrion, Zion Kearney, Eli Merrick, and then Jacob Jordan. He got a pretty nice leash back half of the season. That's it, though. These guys are all freshmen. Very limited experience to their name. Michael Hawkins at quarterback. Showcased some nice toughness early on, and this guy's got some good juice as a runner. Had a good run against Auburn where he showed his explosiveness. Other than that, though, just nothing. Running the ball against Texas, 20 attempts for 27 yards when he got the start in that game. That's pretty much the last we saw of him until the game against Maine. But against Texas, a lot of bad reads. The play calling was not great either. They can only do so much for what they had in terms of personnel. That's pretty much the only game he did anything in was Auburn, and they got bailed out in that one. As a passer, very limited, 161 yards in that game against Auburn. Pretty much it. And against South Carolina, he got in 3 of 5, had 18 yards and 2 picks. So this is a quarterback that's also providing very limited upside, at least for this game, with limited help around him. He can run the ball, though. That's going to be the approach here. Oklahoma ran the ball very well in the upset win over Alabama. 50 attempts for 257 yards, a lot of misdirection, a lot of downhill running, shovel passes, jet sweeps, that type of stuff that Alabama's really struggled with this year. So I don't think the same approach would be bad here against Navy, but the midshipmen are going to bring a lot of toughness to the table, and they excel at stopping the run game. So, the Navy defense giving up only 22 points per game against the run, 155.9 yards per game. Not great. Early on in the season, they had some real struggles back after the year. They're a little bit better. Tulane really ran it up on them, though. Against Army, though, most shocking performance of the year for them. Held them in check, 113 yards and 13 points and 31-13 victory. Upset win over Army there just a couple weeks ago. This team's won 3 of the last 4 games, though. And against Tulane, they didn't have Horvath available, so they weren't really able to keep up in that game. Back to the OU offense, though, the offensive line is just as bad, and you knew that'd be a problem for them coming into the season, and it was even worse than you could expect at 131st in sacks allowed, 127th in tackles for loss allowed, and this team is also incredibly hobbled and very young up front. Logan Howland at left tackle has been no good for them. Left guard, Heath Ozada hasn't been very good either. At center, Troy Everett hasn't been awful for them whenever he was on the field. This was a position that was also hobbled by Branson Hickman's injuries. He did get the start in the last couple games of the year, so I expect Everett to be back at center here. And then the right side really isn't any better. Spencer Brown and Michael Tarquin, when they were right tackle, weren't very good in this position. They both split. It's not great for this offensive line. Those are 2 veterans there, and they aren't really all that good. I'm not really sure what this offense is going to do. Very hobbled from top to bottom. It's very youthful at running back as well. Taylor Tatum, I think, will get a long leash. Xavier Robinson will see a good amount of touches. Gavin Sawchuk has barely played this year after having a really good season last year. Javante Barnes, the top rusher, he's also transferred out of the program. So it's going to be hard for them to move the ball at all. Hawkins, he's going to get a lot of touches. A lot of young guys around him. You expect there to be a lot of mistakes made. I mean, this is a midshipman defense that, in terms of talent, yes, they're at a big disadvantage when they play schools like this. But in terms of fundamentals and scheming and IQ, I think they might have a leg up on Oklahoma in this one. Landon Robinson, Justin Reed, Luke Pierce, three of the best players for them on the defensive line. Kendall Whiteside as well. The thing about Navy's, they're not going to have any transfers, no opt-outs, nothing of that nature. So all the guys I'm naming off will be playing in this game at full capacity. Colin Ramos is a heck of a linebacker for them. 117 tackles, second on the team with 8 TFL. Again, some of the struggles they had early on in the year against the run weren't ideal, but here seems like a pretty good matchup for them. 56 tackles for loss, one of the lower numbers in the country. 25 sacks. It's about 2 a game, respectable number. Justin Reed has 5 of them in that regard. Navy certainly have seen better days on defense. They have snagged 17 interceptions this year, even though they're giving up a little over 200 yards per game through the air. Deshaun Pele, 5 picks. Kyle Jacob at linebacker with 3. And Rayon Lane has another 2. I mean, those are going to be your top DBs. Seems like Navy's going to have the edge in this game. Again, coming off a very stunning effort against Army, where they held them completely in check. And everyone's going to be playing. Everyone's available in terms of toughness and physicality. Oklahoma's just not passed the test other than the Alabama game. But scheming has really played a big factor in beating that Alabama defense this year. I don't think it's going to be as evident against Navy. So I think it's one thing that is going to be very important. Low total in this game for a reason. Move to the other side of the ball. It's going to be just as tough, even though Navy, again, they're going to have everybody available. Blake Horvath finally healthy, coming off a phenomenal game against Army. 196 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, over 8 yards per carry in that one. 107 yards passing with 2 touchdowns. This guy's great. This is an offense that's had more explosive plays this year compared to time of possession. 69th in time of possession. They're usually top 3 in that number with their other service academies. This triple option attack, though, has been very explosive this season. Alex Tegza, Eli Hendrick, these guys are going to be your top 2 running backs. Very good production from them. Quiet game from Eli against Army. But him and Texas, they're going to play. They're going to split carries a good deal. It was really the Horvath show against Army. But this is a really good rushing attack when he plays again against Tulane. They didn't have him available, and he really battled some health earlier in the year. They had 222 rushing yards against Notre Dame. If you want to win that game, you're going to need a lot more. They made a lot of mistakes as well. They were able to spark a nice 50-yard run in that one, though. So this game is certainly very deadly. They're in the shotgun a lot more nowadays in this offense. Love this rushing attack. Problem is you're facing a run defense that is flat out elite, and they're going to have most of their guys ready to go. Nobody's really tested them this year. They've played a very tough schedule. They've only allowed over 150 yards twice, 151 against Tennessee, but that was on 52 attempts, so no efficiency. And then against Texas, it took them a minute to get the round game going, but in the second half, they finally started to run away with it at 177 in that game. They're going to have their whole D-line available. Ethan Downs, R. Mason Thomas, their top 2 producers will be there. Grayson Halton, he'll be playing. DeJoun Terry as well. Looks like Dominic Williams will also be playing. I know he's still kind of waiting what his decision will be. I anticipate he'll be playing. I haven't seen anything that would suggest otherwise. They still do have a couple of opt-outs here. Danny Stutzman's obviously going to be the biggest one. He's a great playmaker at linebacker, elite player against the run. But Kip Lewis and Kobe McKenzie should do a good job filling in this one. Certainly is not going to be the same with him out in a matchup like this. You'd certainly love for him to. But I think they'll be all right since their entire D-line is still going to be playing for Oklahoma. And I think Billy Bowman, he's also opted out. And then Robert Spears-Jennings looks like he'll be playing. He was considered questionable as well in the secondary. The pass defense for Oklahoma, this is a unit that's been really good for the most part. 212 yards per game, 60% comp rate. Not much you really have to worry about here. And it's the same story every time you play these service academies. It's discipline, being stout, being smart with your eyes, being patient. The normal things that Venables will certainly be preaching to his defense before this game. Eli Bowen has been a good corner. Kenai Walker, not as much. It looks like Des Malone, the third-string corner. He was the top rotational guy. He's not going to be playing. That means Jacoby Johnson will see more run, and Woody Washington probably will as well, neither of which have really been good in coverage this year. In the slot, Washington, that's really been his main spot. And then Bowman at safety. It's going to be a big loss because he provides a lot in coverage and against the run. So opportunities here for Navy to certainly attack the entire defensive line playing that was major for Oklahoma, and that might be enough just to win them the game entirely because they really have been phenomenal against the run this year. Defense has really did its job. But against Army, that's pretty shocking. Almost 300 yards rushing in that one. No one's really did that to Army all year, and we really didn't expect Navy to do it to them either. So looking at the final thoughts and the prediction for the Armed Forces Bowl, I'm going to take a stab at Navy here. This team's probably going to be well more motivated than Oklahoma is. The Armed Forces Bowl, the last 5 matchups featuring service academies, they're 5-0, and they've won these games with relative ease. I know it was a battle with Army and Missouri in 21, they only won by 2. But other than that, it's been double-figure victories. Well, I guess Army played a one-score game against San Diego State, but it seemed like that one was pretty easy for them also. The last time Service Academy lost this game was 2016. Navy lost by 3 to LA Tech. So they're always in these games. They come out and they play hard. I know Oklahoma. The only thing that's really going to keep them in this is their stout defensive line and a linebacking group I think will play pretty well. Other than that, that's it. And I think you just need more than one positional group to win you the game, especially a bowl game where you know what you're going to get with a team like Navy. The service academies are going to come and show up in these games. I think they're going to run the ball well. I don't think it'll be a dominant performance, but I think they're going to face a very young offense that just doesn't have anything working for them. Offensive line's abysmal. Quarterback's kind of a one-trick pony, and he really hasn't even impressed in that regard. I know he's a gritty player, but it's a very youthful offense. There's going to be a lot of mistakes made in the passing game. Wrong routes made, miscommunications, missed assignments for the offensive line. It's just not going to be a pretty game, I don't think, overall for the OU offense. I'll pick them to score 17, maybe even less than that. I'm not even sure what their total is for total points. I'll look at that real quick. That's probably a good bet. The under probably in play here. I think Navy could probably force some turnovers, though, that leads to them piling on a few more points. And maybe even Oklahoma can, because they have a stout defense. The D-line, though, they're going to have to play an exceptional game. I think it's totally possible to hold this run game in check. But I think Navy, they got this one in the bag, I would say, as underdogs. I feel confident in it. I just don't know what the Oklahoma offense is going to be able to produce. Their team total is 23.5, so I think the under on that one's probably a pretty safe bet. And I'll take Navy as an outright dog to get this one done. It'll just mean more to them. Oklahoma, great defense. Offense, though, I mean, a million question marks for him. Horvath, on the other hand, coming off a phenomenal effort as he was fully healthy. So this game means more to him. They're going to get the job done. 21-17 final. That's me for today's episode. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.